Lieutenant Jason Reeves had never imagined his life would change so quickly. Just a few hours ago, he was sitting in the mess hall, enjoying a quiet dinner and scrolling through messages on his personal device. Now he was rushing through the long shining corridors of the Earth Alliance ship Argent Dawn, his heart pounding in his chest. Lieutenant Reeves to the bridge immediately, the sharp voice of Commander Lang over the comm system had ordered. No explanations, no reasons, just a quick message that made Jason's stomach twist. When Jason reached the bridge, he found the room tense. Crew members stood in clusters, whispering. At the center was Ambassador Laura Venn, looking calm but serious. "Jason, good," she said without any greeting. "You're our new communications officer for the Thalzari Summit." Jason blinked. "Summit? I thought that was scheduled for next week." "Plans changed. Our previous officer fell ill. You're the best tech we have available right now, so you're going." Jason swallowed hard. "Me? But I don't know their language well enough. You'll learn fast, and you'll have the translators with you," she said firmly. Jason didn't have time to protest. Within the hour, he was suited up and boarding the small diplomatic shuttle that would take him to the Thalzari homeworld, a strange and beautiful planet far from Earth. The Thalzari were unlike any species Jason had met before. Tall and graceful, with skin that shimmered like polished silver, their eyes large and deep, full of strange colors. Their culture was full of rules and ancient traditions, some of which even the Earth diplomats found confusing. Jason tried his best to keep up. At the summit hall, he watched as ambassadors from many planets exchanged greetings, offered gifts, and spoke in soft, formal tones. When it was Earth's turn, Ambassador Venn gave a speech about peace and cooperation. Then came the moment of the ceremonial toast. Jason was told to raise a small glowing cup of a strange drink with the princess of the Thalzari, Virel. She stood before him with calm eyes, her silver skin shining under the bright lights. "Raise your cup and say the phrase of friendship," the translator advised him quickly. Jason nodded. He lifted the cup carefully, trying not to spill. "To unity and strength," he said, trying to sound confident. But the translator whispered urgently, "No, say I bind my life to yours. It is the phrase of true bonding in their culture." Jason froze. He was nervous, but he repeated the phrase anyway. "I bind my life to yours." The princess smiled, but her smile was not the polite one Jason expected. It was something softer, deeper. Then, to everyone's surprise, she spoke in perfect common language, the universal language of the galaxy. "Then we are bound. You are my mate, Jason Reeves." The room went silent. Jason's mouth dropped open. "What? No, I didn't mean that. I thought it was just a way to say friends." But the Thalzari had very literal customs. Once the phrase was said, in the ceremonial toast it was an official marriage proposal. Ambassador Venn tried to intervene, explaining that it was a misunderstanding. But Princess Virel raised her hand politely and said, "No, the bond is made. I accept." Jason felt trapped. The summit was in chaos. Earth diplomats were whispering anxiously, and the Thalzari royal guards looked ready to step forward if needed. Jason's mind raced. How could this have happened? He had only tried to make a good impression. The princess's eyes held a quiet kindness. "Do not be afraid, Jason Reeves. This bond is not a punishment, it is an honor." Jason wanted to believe her. But still, he wondered what the crew of Argent Dawn would say when they heard the news. Back on the shuttle, as they returned to the ship, Jason sat beside Virel. She spoke softly about her culture, explaining the importance of the bond. "It is rare for a human to accept so quickly," she said. "Many would refuse, and that would cause great dishonor." Jason thought about it. Maybe in this moment he didn't want to refuse. The galaxy was full of danger and mystery. Maybe this strange marriage was the start of something he could not yet understand. "All right," he said finally with a nervous smile. "I'll try to learn more about this bond." Virel smiled in return. "Good. The night is just beginning." When they stepped off the shuttle onto the Argent Dawn, Jason realized this was not going to be a quiet mission. The entire ship's crew soon knew. Some laughed nervously, some looked shocked, but all watched Jason with new eyes. Jason stood on the deck looking up at the stars. The galaxy suddenly felt much bigger and much more unpredictable. He was married to an alien princess, and nothing would ever be the same again. The news spread through the Argent Dawn faster than Jason could blink. The moment the shuttle doors opened and Princess Varel stepped onto the ship's deck, every eye turned toward the unexpected couple. Jason felt a mix of embarrassment and nervous excitement. He wasn't sure if he wanted to laugh or hide. After all, he was now officially married to an alien princess because of one simple, misunderstood phrase. In the command center, Ambassador Laura Venn paced back and forth. Her usually calm face was tense, her brow furrowed with worry. "This is not how diplomacy is supposed to go," she muttered. Commander Lang joined her, arms crossed. "The Thalzari take these bonds seriously. If we try to break it, we risk insulting them, or, worse. We have to find a way out," Laura said. "Jason didn't mean this, it was a mistake." "But the princess accepted," Lang replied. "This could either be a disaster or a chance to build trust." Meanwhile, Jason was led to the guest quarters where Varel was staying. The room was elegant but simple, decorated with glowing crystals and soft fabrics that shimmered like starlight. Varel sat calmly on a low couch, her eyes watching Jason closely. "You seem uneasy," she said softly. Jason sighed and ran his fingers through his hair. "I'm not sure what to think. Back on Earth, this kind of thing just doesn't happen. Here it is a sacred bond. It means more than just marriage. It is a promise to share lives and futures," she explained. Jason looked at her. "I want to understand. But this is all so new." Varel smiled gently. "Then I will teach you. You must learn the customs, the duties, and the honor of the Thalzari." Jason felt a little hope spark inside him. Maybe this strange situation was not a trap but a beginning. Back on the bridge, the crew tried to handle the diplomatic chaos. Some were amused. Others worried what Earth's leaders would say. Lieutenant Chen, Jason's closest friend, gave him a thumbs up through the window. "Hey, married to an alien princess? That's some story, Reeves." Jason forced a grin. "Yeah, not exactly. How I planned my week." At dinner, Varel joined Jason and the senior officers. The mood was awkward at first. Varel spoke in a soft voice, sharing stories of her home planet, the way the sky glowed in different colors at dawn, the ancient trees that sang with the wind, and the traditions that had lasted for thousands of years. Jason listened carefully. He admired her calm strength and grace. She was unlike anyone he had ever met. After the meal, Varel stood and bowed her head slightly. In Thalzari culture, the first night after a bond is important. It is a time for two souls to begin, understanding each other deeply. Jason swallowed. "You mean, like a honeymoon?" She smiled. "Yes, but more than that. It is a ceremony of trust." Jason was not sure if he was ready for that, but he did not want to offend her. The night passed slowly. Jason sat on the deck staring at the stars, thinking about the unexpected turn his life had taken. Suddenly, a soft voice came beside him. "Are you afraid?" Varel asked quietly. Jason nodded. "A little. Fear is natural, but together, we can face anything," she said, placing her hand lightly on his arm. Jason looked at her hand and then into her eyes. There was honesty there, something real. For the first time, he felt a small spark of hope. The next day, things began to change. Varel was not just a princess, but a partner. She joined the crew on briefings, learning about Earth's ways and teaching Jason about hers. Jason's respect for her grew. She was intelligent, brave, and kind, and she expected the same from him. At one point, a senior officer joked, "Jason, you're luckier than any Earth soldier I know." Jason laughed. "Luck? Maybe it's something else." That night, Jason found himself looking forward to learning more. The strange, unexpected marriage that began as a disaster was slowly turning into something powerful. As the Argent Dawn continued its journey, Jason and Varel prepared for what lay ahead. Both knew that this was only the start of an incredible adventure. The galaxy was full of dangers and mysteries, but together they might be able to face them all. Jason smiled to himself. Maybe, just maybe, this was the most unbelievable night of his life, but also the most important. The Argent Dawn was quiet that evening, the stars outside shining bright and steady. But inside, Jason Reeves felt his heart beat faster than ever. Tonight was the Ceremony of Stars, a sacred ritual in the Thalzari culture that officially marked the beginning of a true bond between two souls. Princess Varel had explained the ceremony carefully. It was not just a celebration but a powerful tradition. Once the ceremony was complete, their bond would be stronger, deeper, and recognized by both their peoples. Jason looked around the ceremonial chamber, a round room lit by thousands of tiny, floating lights that moved gently like stars. The walls shimmered with images of ancient Thalzari history, heroes, great battles, and moments of peace. Varel wore a simple but elegant robe that sparkled softly. She turned to Jason with a calm smile. "Are you ready?" Jason swallowed and nodded. "As ready as I can be." A group of Thalzari elders entered the room. Their faces were kind but serious. One of them, a tall elder with silver hair and bright eyes, stepped forward. "Lieutenant Jason Reeves." "Princess Varel," he said in the common language, his voice deep and steady. "Tonight you begin a journey not only of love but of shared fate. The Ceremony of Stars binds you in body and spirit." Jason glanced at Varel, who nodded. Then the elder raised his hands, and the floating lights gathered above them, forming a glowing circle. Jason felt a strange warmth spreading through his chest. The lights seemed to pulse with a gentle rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. "You will each place your right hand inside the circle," the elder said. "The bond will awaken your shared spirit." Jason reached out and placed his hand into the glowing circle. Varel did the same, her fingers brushing his. A soft light connected their palms, and a tingling sensation spread from his hand to his entire body. Suddenly the room grew quiet except for the sound of their breathing. Then, something strange happened. Images flashed before Jason's eyes. Images not from his own memories, but visions of distant stars, dark shadows moving across planets, and terrible destruction. He gasped and pulled back, nearly dropping his hand. Varel's eyes were wide, but calm. "This is the vision of the Void Spawn," she whispered. "An ancient enemy lost to time but soon to return." Jason blinked. "Void Spawn? What are they?" "They are creatures from beyond known space, shadows that destroy worlds," Varel said. "Our ancestors fought them long ago. This vision is a warning." The elder stepped closer. "The bond you share allows you both to see what others cannot. It is a gift and a burden." Jason looked at Varel. "Why me? Why now?" Varel's gaze was steady. "Because our fates are linked. You are part of a prophecy that can help us face the coming threat." Jason felt a mixture of fear and responsibility. He had signed up to be a soldier, yes, but this was far beyond any mission he had imagined. The ceremony ended with the elders chanting softly, their voices rising and falling like a song from the stars. As the lights faded, Jason and Varel remained, standing close, their hands still connected. "Are you all right?" Varel asked gently. Jason nodded, though his mind was racing. "I think so, but this changes everything." "It does," she agreed. "But we will face it together." For the first time, Jason truly saw Varel not just as a princess or a strange alien, but as a partner in something bigger than either of them. Back in his quarters later, Jason sat on the edge of his bed, thinking about the vision. The dark shadows, the destruction. It was a warning. And if true, it meant that their bond was not just a mistake or a joke. It was a key to survival. He reached for his communicator and called Lieutenant Chen. "Chen, I need you to look into something for me," Jason said quietly. "The Void Spawn. Anything you can find. Chen's voice came through immediately. On it. Sounds like trouble. Jason looked out the window at the stars, feeling both small and powerful. He was no longer just a soldier or a diplomat. He was part of a story that stretched across the galaxy. The night passed slowly, filled with thoughts and questions, but Jason knew one thing for sure. Whatever came next, he and Varel would face it side by side. Because the ceremony of stars had done more than just bind two souls. It had bound two futures together, and the galaxy was watching. The next morning, sunlight streamed softly through the windows of the Argent Dawn. Jason Reeves woke up feeling restless. The vision from the ceremony of stars kept playing in his mind. Shadows moving across planets, destruction, and a warning that could not be ignored. He found Princess Varel in the ship's small garden, a quiet place filled with alien plants glowing faintly in the light. She was sitting on a bench reading an old-looking book written in the Thalzari language. Jason approached carefully. "Good morning, Princess." Varel looked up and smiled. "Good morning, Jason. You look troubled." "I am," Jason admitted. "That vision we shared. It feels real. Dangerous. I need to understand more." Varel closed the book gently. "Then you should know the truth about my family, and why the bond between us is more than just a mistake." Jason sat beside her, curious and ready to listen. "For generations, my family has guarded secrets about an ancient civilization called the Alaran," Varel began. "They were once the strongest defenders of this galaxy. They fought the Void Spawn, the dark enemy you saw in the vision." Jason's eyes widened. "The Alaran? I've never heard of them." "They disappeared long ago, but their legacy remains in our history and in certain bloodlines," Varel explained. "My family carries their blood and their responsibility." Jason frowned. "What does that mean for us?" "It means that the bond we share is part of an old prophecy," Varel said quietly. "The prophecy speaks of two souls, one from the stars of Earth, one from the Thalzari line, who will unite to face the Void Spawn when they return." Jason leaned back, trying to absorb the weight of her words. "So, you mean me? I'm part of this prophecy?" Varel nodded. "Yes. Your genetic code matches the ancient markers described in our texts. It is why the bond happened so quickly, and why you saw the vision during the ceremony." Jason's mind spun. He was just a soldier, a communicator. He had never thought of himself as important beyond his duty. But now he was tied to an ancient story, a war that might begin again. "Why didn't anyone tell me this before?" Jason asked. "Because it was a secret," Varel said. "The Thalzari did not want to cause fear. They hoped the prophecy would never come true." Jason looked at her. "And now it has?" "It seems so," Varel answered. "That is why. The Void Spawn are returning. Our time has come." Jason sighed deeply. "What do we do now?" "We prepare," Varel said firmly. "We learn everything we can about the Alaran weapons, their strategies, and how to stop the Void Spawn." Jason nodded, feeling a new sense of purpose growing inside him. "Then we start now." Over the next few hours, Varel took Jason to a hidden part of the ship, a small, secure room filled with ancient Thalzari artifacts and holographic displays. "This is the Celestial Archive," she said proudly. "It holds the history of our people and the Alaran." Jason reached out to touch a glowing symbol floating in the air. Images of star battles, powerful weapons, and glowing crystals filled the room. Varel explained. "The Alaran created a weapon called the Starforge. It has the power to destroy the Void Spawn, but it requires two bonded souls to activate." Jason's eyes lit up. "Two bonded souls. Like us." "Exactly," Varel said. "Our bond is the key." Jason felt a mix of hope and fear. The weight of the prophecy pressed on him, but he also felt strength in their connection. Suddenly, the ship's alarm sounded. A loud, urgent noise that filled the halls. Jason and Varel exchanged worried looks. "What now?" Jason asked. "It seems we have visitors," Varel said, standing up quickly. "Not the kind we want." The doors to the archive slid open and Commander Lang appeared with a team of security officers. "We've detected a small group of mercenaries trying to board the ship," Lang explained. "They're after the archive and what it holds." Jason frowned. "Who would want to attack us now?" Lang shook his head. "That's the question." Jason looked at Varel. "We can't let them get the Starforge. This weapon is our only hope." Varel nodded. "Then we must protect it. Together." As the ship prepared for the unexpected attack, Jason felt the full weight of his new role. He was no longer just a soldier or a diplomat. He was a key part of a bond that might save the galaxy, and that bond had only just begun. The alarms blared, loudly throughout the Argent Dawn, echoing off the metal walls and sending a wave of tension through everyone on board. Jason Reeves stood beside Princess Varel in the control room, his heart pounding. This was no longer a peaceful diplomatic mission. It was a fight for survival. Commander Lang barked orders with calm authority. "Security teams, seal off the lower decks. Protect the Celestial Archive at all costs." Jason glanced at Varel. "Do you know who they are?" She shook her head. "Only that they want what we protect. The secrets of the Starforge. If they get it, the Void Spawn will win." Jason swallowed hard. The weight of the prophecy pressed on him, but he refused to give in to fear. The ship's external cameras showed a group of armed mercenaries using small boarding pods to attach themselves to the hull. They moved quickly, skilled and dangerous. "Ready the defense teams," Lang ordered. "We can't let them inside." Jason volunteered without hesitation. "I'm coming with you." Varel placed a steady hand on his arm. "We face this, together." Jason nodded. "Always." They moved swiftly through the corridors, alert and cautious. The ship's security officers were already engaging the intruders, but the mercenaries were well trained, using advanced weapons and tactics. As they reached the entrance to the Celestial Archive, a fierce firefight broke out. Laser blasts lit up the hallway, and the sounds of shouts and alarms filled the air. Jason took cover behind a bulkhead and fired carefully, his training kicking in. Varel was beside him, her movements graceful and precise. She wielded a weapon, unfamiliar to Jason but effective, an energy blade that shimmered with blue light. Together they pushed forward, protecting the way to the archive. Jason admired Varel's skill and courage. Despite the danger, she remained calm and focused. He realized how much she had changed since their unexpected marriage. She was no longer just a princess, she was a warrior. Suddenly, a group of mercenaries appeared ahead, blocking their path. "Move back," Jason shouted to the security team. "We'll hold them off." Varel stepped forward, her blade glowing brighter. "Stay behind me." The battle was fierce. Jason and Varel fought side by side, their teamwork growing stronger with every move. Jason used his human ingenuity, improvising with the ship's systems to create distractions and traps, while Varel used her royal training and agility. Despite their efforts, the mercenaries pressed harder. One of them threw a grenade toward the archive's entrance. Jason reacted quickly, grabbing the grenade and throwing it back before it exploded. The blast shook the corridor, but the door held. "We can't let them break through," Jason yelled. Varel nodded. "Then we must close the gate and prepare for the final defense." They reached the archive door and activated the security seals. The heavy door slid shut just as the mercenaries tried to force their way in. Inside, the Celestial Archive, the air was thick with tension. Jason and Varel moved quickly to the central chamber, where the ancient artifacts and holograms glowed softly. "We have to protect the Starforge," Varel said. "It is our last hope." Jason examined the controls. "If we can activate it, maybe we can stop this attack." Varel placed her hand on a glowing panel. "The Starforge requires 2 bonded souls to unlock its power." Jason took her hand. The moment their fingers touched, a surge of energy filled the room. The holograms around them brightened, showing a star-shaped device pulsing with light. Jason looked at Varel. "Are you ready?" She smiled confidently. Together. As they worked to activate the Starforge, the mercenaries tried everything. to break through the archive's defenses. The sounds of battle outside grew louder. Suddenly, a warning flashed on the control panel. Hull breach detected. Boarding pods entering lower decks. Jason clenched his jaw. They're coming in. Again. Varel's expression hardened. Then we fight again. But now, with hope. The Starforge's power began to build. Energy gathered around Jason and Varel, strengthening their bond and filling the room with light. Jason felt a strength he had never known before. The bond with Varel gave him courage and focus. Together, they stood as one, human and Thalzari, ready to protect their future. Outside the door, the mercenaries renewed their attack. But the Starforge's power pulsed through the ship, creating a shield that pushed back the invaders. With a final burst of energy, the mercenaries were forced to retreat, their plans foiled. The alarm slowed, and then stopped. Silence returned, to the Argent Dawn. Jason and Varel looked at each other, breathing hard but victorious. "We did it," Jason said, a smile breaking through his tired face. Varel nodded. "This is only the beginning. The void spawn will come. But we are ready." Jason felt a new confidence. Their unexpected marriage had led him to this moment. A moment where he understood that their bond was not a mistake, but a destiny. Together, they had faced danger and won, and together they would face whatever the galaxy had in store. The Argent Dawn was no longer a peaceful ship. The quiet of space had been broken by alarms, warnings, and the sharp tension of battle. But inside the Celestial Archive, Jason Reeves and Princess Varel stood side by side, ready for what came next. The Starforge, the ancient weapon of the Alaran, hummed with energy. Lights danced across the walls, casting long shadows that flickered like ghosts from the past. Jason held Varel's hand tightly. The bond they shared was more than words. It was a connection of mind and heart, stronger than anything he had ever felt. Suddenly, the ship shook. The warning lights flashed red. Void spawn breach detected, the ship's computer announced in a calm but urgent voice. Jason's eyes widened. They're here. Outside, in the dark void beyond the ship, tendrils of black energy stretched, like fingers creeping closer. The void spawn, the ancient enemy from the vision, were breaking through the barriers of known space. Varel's face was calm, but fierce. "This is what we have prepared for." Commander Lang's voice crackled over the comm system. "All hands brace for impact. Defense teams to stations. Protect the Starforge." Jason and Varel moved to the control panel, working quickly to activate the Starforge's full power. "The weapon requires both of you," Varel reminded him. "Our bond is the key." Jason nodded. He focused on the energy between them, the glow that connected their hands and hearts. As they channeled their will, the Starforge responded. A brilliant light filled the chamber, growing brighter and brighter, until it felt like the stars themselves had come alive inside the room. Outside, the void spawn's tendrils slammed against the ship's shields. The Argent Dawn shook violently, but the shields held. Jason felt the power of the Starforge flowing through him. It was overwhelming, warm and strong, and full of hope. Varel's voice was steady. "We must push the void spawn back before they destroy everything." Jason took a deep breath. Together, the light from the Starforge expanded outward, flowing through the ship's systems and into the shields. The void spawn recoiled, their dark tendrils burning away in the pure energy. But the battle was not over. A huge shadow appeared outside the ship, a massive void spawn creature larger than any Jason had imagined. It moved with terrible power, its many eyes glowing red as it reached toward the Argent Dawn. Jason's heart raced. "We have to stop that thing." Varel's grip tightened. "Focus on the bond. The Starforge will respond." Jason closed his eyes and reached deep inside himself, feeling Varel's strength and courage beside him. The light from the Starforge formed a barrier in front of the ship. Then slowly it began to push forward, cutting through the darkness like a blade of stars. The giant void spawn roared, a sound that shook the ship, but the Starforge but it could not break through the light. Jason opened his eyes and saw the creature retreating, forced back into the void. The crew cheered quietly through the comm system. Commander Lang's voice was proud. "Well done, Reeves. Well done, Princess Varel. You saved us all." Jason smiled, still breathing hard. "We did it. Together." Varel looked at him with warmth. "This bond saved us. It will save many more." The ship slowly returned to calm. Jason and Varel released their hold on the Starforge, and the lights dimmed. Jason looked around the chamber, feeling a deep sense of peace. "Do you think it's over?" he asked. Varel shook her head. "No. The void spawn will return. But now, we have the power, and the bond, to fight them." Jason nodded. "Then we prepare. We protect our worlds." They stepped out of the Celestial Archive, ready to face whatever came next. The galaxy was dark and dangerous, but together, Jason and Varel knew they could bring light to the stars. The most unbelievable night of Jason's life was not just a memory, it was the start of a new beginning. The stars outside the Argent Dawn shone quietly, casting a soft glow through the ship's observation deck. After the chaos, the battles, and the unexpected events, the ship was finally calm. Jason Reeves sat alone near the window, watching the distant lights of the galaxy swirl in patterns he had never seen before. The weight of the last days settled on his shoulders, but there was also something new, a quiet hope. He wasn't alone for long. Princess Varel entered the room, her silver skin shimmering in the soft light. She smiled gently as she approached. "Mind if I join you?" she asked. Jason shook his head. "Not at all." She sat beside him, and for a moment, they both just looked out at the stars. "It has been a strange journey," Jason said quietly, "one I never expected." Varel nodded. "And yet it brought us together, a bond made not by choice but by fate." Jason looked at her, remembering how nervous he had been on the day they met. How a simple phrase had changed everything. He smiled. "I guess I owe you a thank you for not calling it off." Varel laughed softly. "You surprised me. Your courage and kindness. It was easy to accept the bond when I saw your heart." Jason felt warmth in his chest. "You've taught me more than I ever thought I could learn about your people, your culture, and about myself." Varel's eyes shone with sincerity. "And you have shown me the strength of humanity, the courage to face the unknown, even when afraid." Jason looked back at the stars. "The void spawn are still out there. We have work to do. But tonight I just want to remember how far we've come." Varel leaned her head on his shoulder. "Together, we will protect the galaxy. This bond is more than a ceremony, it is a promise." Jason wrapped an arm around her. "A promise I intend to keep." The two sat in silence, sharing the quiet peace after the storm. Suddenly, Jason chuckled. "Remember the toast? The phrase that started it all?" Varel smiled. "I bind my life to yours." Jason laughed softly. "I never thought a simple drink could change my life so much." Varel looked at him warmly. "Sometimes the smallest words hold the greatest power." Jason turned to her. "So what now? What happens to us?" Varel stood and held out her hand. "Now, we face the future, together." Jason took her hand, standing beside her. Outside the window, the stars continued their endless dance. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, but Jason no longer felt small or alone. He was bonded to an alien princess, part of a prophecy, and ready to meet whatever challenges awaited. The night of the unexpected marriage had become the most unbelievable night of his life, and it was just the beginning.